Forbidden metaphysics reveals the exact hidden law behind energy itself, how it moves, responds, and shapes the reality around you. Within these teachings lies a level of understanding few were ever meant to access. Learn it quietly, and once you understand it, tell no one. Forbidden Metaphysics. Introduction. You stand at the threshold of understanding a truth that is whispered through the corridors of ancient wisdom since time immemorial. Energy is not merely a concept. It is the fundamental language of existence, and you are its primary architect. Imagine your thoughts as living currents, invisible yet more potent than any physical force. Each thought carries a vibrational frequency, a subtle resonance that ripples through the unseen fabric of reality. When you feel deeply, when emotion colors your thoughts with intensity, you are not simply thinking. You are casting an energetic spell that begins to reshape the world around you. The universe responds not to your words, but to the emotional charge behind those words. Fear constricts. Love expands, doubt contracts, belief magnetizes. Your inner state is not a passive experience, but an active transmission, constantly communicating with the quantum field that surrounds and permeates all things. This is not mystical rhetoric, but the fundamental mechanics of consciousness. Your attention is a beam of creative power. Where you direct it, energy follows. What you consistently feel, you inevitably attract. The mind is not just an observer, but the primary sculptor of experience. Most walk through life believing circumstances happen to them. The awakened understand that circumstances happen through them, channeled by their consistent emotional bandwidth, their habitual thought patterns, their unconscious expectations. To master your energy is to master your reality, not through struggle, but through awareness, not through force, but through alignment. Before we get into the book, comment, "I am ready," to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Hidden Field Awakes. Chapter 1. The First Current. In the gentle embrace of a secluded garden, Mildred Porter stood among her roses, her weathered hands tenderly caressing the wilted stems. Where others might have seen decay, she witnessed potential. Her whispers were not mere words, but vibrations of unwavering faith, a silent conversation with the unseen intelligence that governs all living things. You must understand that what appears dormant is never truly lifeless. The roses, seemingly withered, held within them an intrinsic memory of vitality. As Mildred's gratitude flowed, not for what existed, but for what could be, something remarkable began to unfold. The roses, responding to her emotional certainty, started to lift their heads, their petals slowly unfurling with renewed vigor. This was no mere coincidence, but a demonstration of a universal principle. Energy is intelligent, and emotional coherence is its primary language. Your thoughts are like seeds, but it is your feelings that provide the nourishing soil. Thought without feeling remains inert, a seed without water. Feeling without thought scatters like wind, powerful but directionless. When both unite with crystal clarity, the world begins to rearrange itself around your inner vision. Not far from Mildred's garden, Eugene Clark encountered a similar revelation. His factory project had been crumbling, each effort seeming to push success further away. He had been forcing outcomes, wrestling with circumstances, exhausting himself in a futile battle against reality. The moment Eugene stopped struggling and began to feel the success of his project as if it had already manifested, everything shifted. He didn't merely hope, he knew. His emotional certainty became a beacon, harmonizing with the potential energy surrounding his vision. The project that had been on the brink of collapse suddenly resurrected, opportunities emerging from seemingly nowhere. The lesson is clear. Energy listens only to certainty, never to doubt or tentative attempts. Practice. Each dawn, close your eyes and imagine the unseen current beneath your problems turning bright gold as if already healed. Let gratitude rise not for what should happen, but for what already vibrates true beneath thought. In this serenity, you command the current. Chapter 2. The mirror breathes. You have wandered far from the path of understanding, believing joy resided in the external world, waiting to be discovered like a hidden treasure. But Hazel Brooks learned a sacred truth that would transform her entire existence. The universe is not a distant realm to be conquered, but a living mirror reflecting your innermost beliefs. For decades, Hazel chased happiness through others' approval, seeking validation in their eyes, their words, their fleeting gestures of acceptance. Each compliment from outside felt like a temporary balm, quickly fading and leaving her empty. But then came the moment of awakening, a whisper of insight that would change everything. When Hazel began to genuinely compliment herself, to recognize her own worth with quiet, unwavering certainty, something remarkable occurred. The world around her began to shift. Colleagues who once seemed distant now approached with respect. Strangers smiled more readily. Opportunities that had once seemed elusive now appeared with surprising ease. This was not coincidence, but the fundamental law of resonance. The universe does not give you what you want. It reflects what you fundamentally believe about yourself. Your inner conviction becomes the blueprint that reality constructs itself around. Marvin Ellis discovered this truth through a different path. His persistent worry about betrayal had been an invisible wall, pushing away potential allies and creating the very scenarios he most feared. Colleagues sensed his underlying mistrust and responded in kind, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of isolation and suspicion. But when Marvin learned to cultivate quiet self-respect, to trust in his own integrity, everything transformed. He stopped defending against imagined threats and started radiating an energy of calm confidence. Suddenly, loyal partners emerged. Trustworthy collaborators appeared. The external landscape rearranged itself to match his internal state. Your reality is not a fixed landscape, but a living, breathing response to your most subtle emotional frequencies. Every thought, every quiet belief sends ripples through the invisible field, calling forth experiences that match its vibration. Each night before rest, whisper silent appreciation for yourself until warmth expands. Imagine life reflecting that same warmth back tomorrow. Watch how people and events align with that vibration without demand or control. Chapter 3. The Body of Light. As you stand at the threshold of understanding, you will discover how the body is not merely a vessel, but a powerful transmitter of energy, broadcasting your innermost beliefs into the fabric of reality. Clara Jenkins had long carried the weight of unworthiness, her shoulders bent under invisible burdens of self-doubt. Each step she took was tentative, apologetic, a whispered admission of perceived insignificance. But on one transformative morning, something within her shifted. She chose to walk differently. Imagine light cascading from your shoulders, not as a metaphor, but as a tangible radiance. Clara embodied this transformation, her spine straightening, her breath deepening, her movements becoming deliberate and graceful. She did not merely think about confidence, she became confidence. The universal energy responds to authenticity, not to rehearsed mantras or hollow affirmations. Your body is an intricate broadcasting system, emitting frequencies that resonate far beyond physical boundaries. Every gesture, every breath, every subtle movement communicates a narrative that the world cannot help but reflect. Within weeks of her internal shift, promotions arrived, not through manipulation, but through pure resonance. Opportunities seemed to recognize her before she spoke, drawn to the electromagnetic field of her transformed self-perception. Daryl Monroe witnessed a similar awakening. His tired stance had been broadcasting exhaustion, repelling the very opportunities he sought. When he learned to inhabit relaxed confidence, clients began approaching him as if they had been waiting to meet someone precisely like him. Your physical presence speaks a language more eloquent than words. Your posture transmits stories. Your breath carries vibrations. Your movement broadcasts intentions. The body is not separate from manifestation. It is manifestation. The electric codes of embodiment are written in the language of presence. When you align your inner state with your external presentation, you become a living invitation for synchronicity. Practice. Stand still each morning, draw air deeply, and feel light coiling around you like calm fire. When you step into your day, move with deliberate serenity, knowing every cell participates in creation. Chapter 4. The Frequency of Forgiveness. You stand at the precipice of a universal invisibilable truth that forges the invisible architecture that reshapes your world. Ruby Inner May Humbasensen carried decades of silent anger like stones within her heart, each grievance a weight that had slowly poisoned her spirit and blocked her life's natural current. For years, Ruby believed hated wound from a childhood, all allowing resentment to coil around her like the suffocating vine. But in anger was not just an emotion, but an energy field that calcified her body and clour perception. Existence. When she finally allowed herself to weep, not from pain, but from a profound release, something extraordinary transpired. The tears that Ruby flowed were different. They were not bitter, but electric with electric potential. Each moment, each droplet fell, carried away years of accumulated emotional resistance. Her body, long held captive by, began unresolved, tore heal itself. The universal law whispers, forgiveness is not about condoning another's actions, but liberating your own heart yourself from then energetic prison of resentment. Your emotions are not merely feelings, passive experiences. They are active creators, frequencies, transformation. Harrison Ruby, onto penance barricades in your field stream. Each unresolved emotion acts like a dam, blocking the natural current of possibility. Forgiveness becomes the ultimate act of liberation, a method of clearing these energetic blockages. Flow. Harrison Doyle understood this truth in Tim through experience. Estranged from his brother his decades, he a letter of compass would never send never into to, Withion, he poured deeper wisdom onto paper. He did not seek reconciliation, but rather inner peace. Remarkably, within weeks of this symbolic act of release, fortune began to realign itself his life. Opportunities emerged, business connections rekindled, and a sense of unexpected grace descended. His act of foregletter of compass had forged not about changing his brother's circumstances, but abouting his personal energetic landscape. The interpretation of Forg reveals a profound truth. Release equals expansion. Not about forgiving but about freeing yourself. When you let go of resentment, you do not absolve another. You liberate yourself. Recall one memory, that still moment, that still contracts your chest. Memory, that experience that causes it to tighten. 10 breath narrows your. Now imagine light streaming into that through that memory. Breathe light into it until it untes itang and shasins. Let peace replace the story with pure, clear energy. How that can skull future differently. Chapter 5. The Magnet of Desire. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Pearl Sanders gazed out the window, watching couples walk hand in hand, families sharing laughter, friends embracing. Loneliness had been her companion for so long that it felt like an old, worn blanket, familiar, yet suffocating. But something was stirring within her, a whisper of wisdom that suggested loneliness was not a condition to be endured, but a frequency to be transformed. The universe speaks in vibrations of emotion, and your deepest desires are not meant to be chased, but allowed. Wanting creates a subtle energy of lack, a signal that broadcasts separation. When you want companionship, you simultaneously affirm its absence. The magnetic field of energy responds not to your words, but to the underlying emotional current. Pearl began to shift. Instead of longing, she started to feel the essence of connection. She imagined the warmth of shared laughter, the comfort of understanding, the joy of genuine companionship, not as something missing, but as an already existing state she could step into. Her transformation was subtle. She stopped scanning rooms for potential connections and instead radiated an inner completeness. Her energy changed from desperate searching to quiet expectation. In a parallel journey, Thomas Reed stood in his small bookstore, surrounded by volumes of stories yet untold. He had dreamed of a bustling space where literature breathed life, where readers gathered and conversations bloomed between shelves. But instead of anxiously willing this vision, he simply felt it, deeply, completely. He imagined the bookstore alive with energy, not as a future hope, but as a present reality already humming beneath the surface. No tension, no desperate pushing, just a clear, calm knowing. The universal law of attraction doesn't respond to want. It responds to emotional frequency. When you align with the feeling of your desire already fulfilled, you become a perfect conductor of manifestation. Thomas stopped trying. He simply was. Weeks later, his bookstore transformed. Readers discovered his space, conversations sparked, community emerged, not through his effort, but through his alignment. Pearl experienced a similar quiet miracle. As she stopped wanting and started being, connections began to weave themselves around her. Friends emerged. Conversations flowed. Companionship arrived not as a conquest, but as a natural extension of her inner state. Practice. Picture what you crave already complete, then release it like air from held lungs. Live as though nothing is missing, and the magnet begins to hum in your favor. Chapter 6. The line between thought and knowing. In the landscape of inner transformation, you stand at the threshold where belief becomes reality. Agnes Carter had walked the well-worn path of countless seekers, filling journals with affirmations, whispering promises to herself each morning, yet feeling the hollowness of words that never truly penetrated her core being. Affirmations are but whispers until they transform into knowing. The universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to vibration. Agnes discovered this when she finally understood that true manifestation occurs not through forced declaration, but through a state of profound inner certainty. Imagine a river of energy that flows through all existence. Your thoughts are but ripples on its surface, but your knowing, that unshakable core of understanding, creates profound currents that reshape reality itself. When Agnes stopped trying to convince herself and instead rested in a state of quiet conviction, something remarkable happened. Oliver Hayes walked a similar path of healing. He had spent years battling illness, cycling through hope and despair, pushing against his condition with desperate affirmations. But healing is not a battle to be fought. It is a state to be inhabited. When Oliver ceased struggling and instead rested in the absolute knowing of his wellness, his body began to align with that frequency. The profound secret whispered by those who truly understand manifestation is this: thought becomes real only when thinking ends and knowing remains. It is the space beyond mental chatter, beyond effort, where true transformation occurs. Your inner state is not created by what you say, but by what you fundamentally believe without doubt. This is not about positive thinking, but about vibrational alignment. When you drop the need to convince yourself and instead simply know, truly know, your entire energetic field shifts. The universe does not distinguish between what is and what you believe. It simply reflects your most fundamental state of being. Your doubts are like clouds passing through the sky of your consciousness. The sky remains unchanged, vast and clear. Similarly, your essential nature remains unchanged by temporary fluctuations of thought. When you learn to rest in that unchanging essence, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. Practice. Sit quietly and recall a truth you never doubt, then apply that feeling to your dream. Hold it until all inner debate dissolves into calm assurance. Chapter 7. The Hidden Geometry. You stand at the threshold of a profound revelation, where numbers whisper secrets and geometry reveals the hidden architecture of reality. Lillian Pierce first noticed this when seemingly random numerical sequences began appearing with uncanny precision during moments of absolute inner clarity. 3 times in a single week, the numbers 1111 emerged, on clocks, receipts, license plates, always coinciding with her most centered, peaceful states of mind. These were not mere coincidences, but signals from the invisible realm, indicating that your consciousness communicates through patterns more intricate than words. The universal language is mathematical. Every thought you generate creates a vibrational blueprint, a geometric design that seeks physical manifestation. Your inner landscape maps itself onto external reality through precise energetic symmetries. Vincent Webb understood this principle intuitively. An agricultural designer by profession, he began sketching his ideal farm layout with a sense of sacred geometry. Each line, each angle drawn felt like a conversation with the unseen forces that shape matter. Remarkably, when he eventually purchased land, the natural terrain mirrored his original sketches with breathtaking accuracy, as if the landscape had been waiting to recognize his internal vision. These experiences reveal a fundamental truth. Your mind operates as a living blueprint. Thought is not random, but a precise instrument of creation, generating electromagnetic patterns that seek corresponding physical expressions. The universe responds to the elegant, mathematical language of your consciousness, translating inner designs into outer realities. Your awareness becomes the compass that guides these transformations. When you align your thoughts with clarity, when you generate internal images with intentional symmetry, you activate a profound creative mechanism. Visualization is not mere imagination. It is architectural planning for reality. Visualize your life as a luminous design expanding outward. Mentally adjust shapes until they feel balanced. Trust that the material world will seek those angles. Chapter 8. The Pulse of Silence. In the twilight of her modest apartment, Eleanor Holt sat motionless, her breath a gentle rhythm against the stillness. For years she had feared silence, believing it a void of emptiness rather than a living, breathing realm of infinite potential. Her mind had always raced, filling every moment with thoughts, worries, and endless internal dialogues. But something shifted when she first understood that silence was not an absence, but a profound presence. It was the fertile ground from which all creation emerges, the primordial space where the universe whispers its most intricate designs. The core teaching revealed itself slowly. Silence is not emptiness, but the most potent form of communication. It is the language of the unseen, where intuition blossoms and guidance crystallizes. Your thoughts are like ripples on a vast, deep ocean, but silence is the ocean itself, holding infinite possibilities. Eleanor discovered that her persistent noise, mental chatter, constant planning, perpetual worry, was actually blocking the subtle frequencies of universal intelligence. Each thought was an interference, a static that disrupted the clean transmission of wisdom. When she first began to practice true stillness, it felt uncomfortable. Her mind rebelled, throwing up distractions, memories, and anxieties. But she learned to observe these thoughts without engagement, like clouds passing through an expansive sky. Milton Parks, a local architect, experienced a similar transformation. Struggling with a complex design challenge, he committed to 5 consecutive mornings of complete silence. No meditation apps, no guided practices, just pure, uninterrupted stillness. During those mornings, something extraordinary happened. Solutions began to emerge not through thinking, but through listening. Architectural concepts that had eluded him for months suddenly crystallized, their elegant simplicity almost startling in its clarity. The universe, Eleanor realized, does not shout. It whispers. And to hear those whispers, one must create space, internal silence where guidance can emerge without resistance. This is the hidden dialogue of creation, not through effort, but through receptivity, not through demanding, but through listening. Your most profound insights will not come from pushing, but from creating a spacious stillness where wisdom can naturally arise. Practice. Spend a few breaths each day in attentive silence, listening to space itself. Feel life whisper your next step without effort. Chapter 9. The Weightless Mind. In the quiet corners of her modest home, Doris Lane carried a weight far heavier than her aging frame suggested. Years of unspoken regrets had settled into her bones, transforming memories into physical pain that carved deep lines across her shoulders and etched tension into her muscles. Each unresolved moment from her past became a stone, gradually building an invisible burden that bent her spirit and compressed her energy. You might recognize this feeling, the way guilt accumulates silently, like dust gathering in forgotten corners of your consciousness. Doris understood, perhaps more deeply than most, that emotional residue is not merely a metaphorical concept, but a tangible force that reshapes your physical reality. Her transformation began not with grand gestures, but with a whispered acknowledgement. One morning, as sunlight filtered through her kitchen window, she spoke aloud the words her heart had long suppressed. "I forgive myself," she murmured, her voice trembling at first, then growing stronger with each repetition. The core teaching reveals a profound truth. Emotional weight is not a life sentence. Your thoughts are not immovable anchors, but fluid energies that can be redirected, released, and transformed. When you carry unresolved emotions, they manifest as physical tension, blocking the natural flow of your body's energy. Roy Walters discovered a similar truth when chronic headaches that had plagued him for years suddenly dissolved. After years of silent self-criticism, he learned to speak compassion to himself, acknowledging his past mistakes without judgment. As he released the mental grip of old wounds, the physical pain that had become his constant companion began to dissipate. This is not magic, but the fundamental mechanics of energy. Your body is an intricate system that responds to your emotional landscape. Guilt, shame, and unresolved pain are not just psychological states. They are vibrational frequencies that contract your life force, creating resistance in your physical and energetic fields. When you choose forgiveness, first for yourself, then extending to others, you're not just performing an emotional exercise. You're recalibrating your entire energetic system. Each moment of self-compassion acts like a gentle solvent, dissolving the rigid structures of past pain and creating space for healing and renewal. The universe responds to your internal state with remarkable precision. As you lighten your emotional load, you create room for grace, opportunity, and unexpected transformations. Your body knows how to heal. It simply requires you to remove the obstacles of unresolved emotion. At the end of each day, you have a choice. You can continue carrying the weight of past regrets, or you can choose to release them, understanding that forgiveness is not about forgetting, but about freeing yourself. Picture each regret as a balloon floating away into bright sky until your heart feels empty of density and full of lightness that attracts grace. Chapter 10. The Dreaming Field. In the quiet twilight, between waking and sleeping, you hold the most potent creative power of your existence. Your subconscious mind is not merely a passive recorder of experience, but the living workshop where universal energy sculpts potential into reality. Beatrice Palmer discovered this truth accidentally. For years, her nights were a cascade of random images, forgotten moments after dawn's first light. But something shifted when she began to approach sleep with intention a deliberate act of creation rather than unconscious surrender. Each evening she would sit in soft candlelight, breathing deeply and visualizing her most cherished desires, not with desperate grasping, but with a calm certainty that felt more like remembering than hoping. She would trace the contours of her ideal day, feeling the emotions as if they were already true. At first, the connection seemed coincidental. A dream of a blue bicycle, and days later, a friend offering her an unexpected ride. A vision of a warm conversation with a distant relative, followed by an unexpected phone call. But soon, the patterns became undeniable. The universal field does not distinguish between imagination and memory. To your deepest self, a vividly felt experience is real, regardless of linear time. Your dreams are not mere fantasies, but rehearsals of potential realities waiting to be born. Franklin Rowe understood this principle in his consulting work. Before sleeping, he would visualize his clients, not as they were, but as they could be, peaceful, resolved, moving forward with clarity. He would feel their gratitude, sense their transformation, allow those emotions to permeate his being. Mornings would bring unexpected emails, spontaneous breakthroughs. Clients would call with revelations that mirrored his nighttime visions. The boundary between dreaming and waking became permeable, a thin membrane through which potential flows. Your subconscious is the alchemist's laboratory, where raw experience is transmuted into lived reality. Every feeling, every image you hold before sleep is a seed planted in fertile darkness, germinating while your conscious mind rests. This is not mystical conjecture, but the fundamental language of energy. Your inner state broadcasts a frequency that the universe interprets and reflects. Dreams are not escape, but creation in its most fluid form. Practice. Before sleep, breathe slow and imagine your ideal tomorrow until it feels already lived. Then drift, letting your dreaming field finish the work. Part 2. The Mastery of Flow. Chapter 11. The Language of Vibration. You have been listening to the universe's whispers without understanding its true language. Sound is not merely a vibration heard, but a frequency that reshapes reality's very fabric. When Edith Crane discovered this hidden truth, her world transformed. For years, Edith had recited affirmations like urgent commands, strained, desperate words forced through clenched teeth. "I am successful," she would declare, her voice tight with anxiety. But the universe heard her tension, not her intention. Her words carried the energy of struggle, not triumph. Then something remarkable happened. One morning, she began speaking her affirmations differently. Her voice became soft, melodic, almost playful. "I am successful," she sang, as though sharing a delightful secret with the cosmos. The words flowed like gentle water, carrying no urgency, no desperation, just pure, light-hearted certainty. The field around her responded instantly. Opportunities that had previously slipped away now drifted toward her effortlessly. Her business contacts became more responsive, her projects more fluid. The shift occurred not in the words, but in their energetic transmission. Ernest Bowen understood this principle even more profoundly. A businessman whose previous approach had been methodical and rigid, he began transforming his strategic planning into musical expressions. He would sit in his office, softly singing his business goals like tender lullabies. His intentions became harmonic waves, gentle yet powerful. The universal field does not respond to forceful demands. It resonates with authentic vibration. Your tone communicates more than your vocabulary. When you speak or sing your desires, the emotional frequency matters more than the precise words. Imagine your desires as melodies waiting to be sung into existence. Each intention is a song, each dream a rhythm that can reshape your reality. The universe listens not to your words, but to the music of your soul. Hum softly while dreaming of your desire until the hum feels like light from your chest, guiding events in tune with your melody. Practice. Hum softly while dreaming of your desire until the hum feels like light from your chest, guiding events in tune with your melody. Chapter 12. The River of Allowance. You have been taught that success demands relentless pushing, a constant battle against the currents of life. But what if the most powerful movement is not struggle, but surrender? Jane Foster understood this truth after years of driving herself to the edge of exhaustion, her ambitions a whip she used to punish herself into constant motion. Her revelation came not through achievement, but through complete surrender. Each time she had forced an outcome, the universe seemed to resist. Her business negotiations felt like wrestling storms. Her personal relationships, a series of frustrated attempts to control every detail. Until one moment of profound understanding transformed everything. Imagine the energy of the universe as a living river. When you fight its current, you exhaust yourself. When you learn to float, to trust, to allow, you move with extraordinary grace and speed. Jane discovered that her most significant breakthroughs happened not when she pushed hardest, but when she released her grip entirely. Leonard Graves mirrored this wisdom. A successful consultant driven by perpetual anxiety, he had constructed a life of constant motion, meetings, deadlines, networking, each day a marathon of forced productivity. Then burnout struck like lightning, forcing him to stop. In that enforced stillness, something miraculous occurred. Projects he had desperately chased now sought him. Clients he had previously pursued now called spontaneously. Opportunities emerged not through his frantic effort, but through his unexpected rest. The universal field responds to your internal state, not your external doing. Effort born of fear constricts. Allowance born of trust expands. Your energy is a transmission, constantly communicating with the invisible network surrounding you. When you surrender, you're not giving up. You're tuning into a more intelligent guidance. This is not passive resignation, but active trust. It's understanding that the universe moves with precision beyond your limited perspective. Your job is not to control every outcome, but to align your inner state with the frequency of what you desire. Surrender becomes your most powerful strategy. It transforms struggle into flow, tension into grace. You are not small against life's vast currents, but a conscious participant in its elegant design. Practice. During stress, say inwardly, I allow life to work beautifully without my tension, and feel shoulders drop into flow. Chapter 13. The Hidden Listener. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Frances Boyd arranged her life like a carefully constructed facade. Her smiles were polished, her conversations peppered with optimistic declarations about abundance. Yet beneath the surface, a turbulent river of doubt churned relentlessly. You know this feeling intimately, the performance of positivity that masks a deeper current of anxiety and lack. Every affirmation Frances spoke felt like a thin veneer over her true emotional landscape, a landscape marked by silent desperation and hidden fear. The universe, however, is not fooled by performances. It reads the underlying frequency, the authentic vibration humming beneath manufactured words. And Frances's frequency spoke of scarcity, of struggle, of an unspoken belief that good things were perpetually out of reach. Her transformation began not with another positive statement, but with brutal honesty. One evening, standing before her mirror, she dropped the mask. "I am afraid," she whispered. "I am tired of pretending everything is perfect when inside I feel depleted." In that moment of raw vulnerability, something shifted. The energy around her softened, as if the universe had been waiting for this genuine transmission. Across town, Harold Pratt understood this principle intimately. Where many saw setbacks, he saw opportunities for emotional alchemy. When fear approached, he did not battle it but welcomed it, speaking to it with compassion. "I see you," Harold would say to his inner turmoil. "I acknowledge your presence, but you do not define me." Such radical acceptance creates a different resonance. Not resistance, but gentle acknowledgement. Not denial, but loving recognition. The universal field responds to authenticity with remarkable precision. When you align your inner emotional landscape with genuine feeling, whether that feeling is momentary fear or emerging hope, you create a powerful signal. Frances learned that pretending optimism was like speaking a language the universe did not understand. Authentic emotion, however, was a clear, powerful transmission. Her world began to change not through forced positivity, but through sincere emotional calibration. Opportunities emerged. Connections deepened. The very energy around her seemed to become more fluid, more responsive. Practice. Speak sincerely to yourself, as to a dear friend, until your feelings soften into alignment with genuine trust. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Energy of Words Unspoken. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Marjorie Flynn sat with her leather-bound gratitude journal, her pen hovering above pristine pages filled with mechanical lists of blessings. Yet something felt hollow in her practice. Words without breath, gratitude without genuine resonance. The universe listens not to your words, but to the vibration underneath them. Your emotional frequency speaks a language far more eloquent than any written phrase. When gratitude becomes a performance, it loses its transformative power. Marjorie discovered this truth when Wallace King entered her neighborhood. An elderly gentleman with a perpetual soft smile, Wallace seemed to radiate an inexplicable warmth. He would walk down the street, not demanding attention, but simply existing in a state of quiet contentment. Neighbors who once passed each other with distant nods now found themselves spontaneously greeting him, sharing brief moments of connection. His secret was not in grand gestures or elaborate declarations. Wallace understood that true appreciation is a feeling that emanates from within, a silent music that reshapes the invisible field around you. He didn't try to be grateful. He simply was. When you appreciate without expectation, when you feel genuine warmth without demanding a response, you create a magnetic field that naturally draws harmony. The universe does not count your blessings. It resonates with the frequency of your inner state. Marjorie began to shift. Instead of writing lists, she started to feel gratitude. She would close her eyes and breathe into a sense of quiet abundance, allowing genuine appreciation to bloom from her core. No forcing, no performance. Just pure, sincere recognition of life's inherent beauty. Gradually, her world transformed. Opportunities appeared subtly. Strangers became kind. The very air around her seemed to soften, responding to her authentic emotional landscape. Practice. As you think silent appreciation, ignite warmth in your chest, letting it travel outward like invisible laughter reshaping the day. Chapter 15. The Compass of Emotion. In the quiet landscape of human experience, emotions are not obstacles but navigational instruments, guiding you toward deeper understanding. You are not a victim of your feelings, but a navigator charting the intricate waters of your inner world. Lucille Barrett discovered this truth during a moment of profound transformation. For years, she had treated anger as an enemy, something to suppress, control, or shame. But on this particular morning, as frustration rose within her like a tide, she paused and listened differently. The anger was not a flaw in her character, but a messenger. It spoke of misalignment, of boundaries crossed, of energy that needed redirection. Each surge of emotion carried wisdom, if only she could hear its language. Clyde Horton learned a similar lesson through the landscape of jealousy. When suspicion and fear threatened to consume his relationship, he chose curiosity over condemnation. Instead of battling the emotion, he invited it to speak, to reveal the underlying currents of vulnerability and unmet needs. Your emotions are not random storms, but precise instruments calibrated to your innermost truth. They rise not to punish, but to illuminate. Anger shows where you feel powerless. Jealousy reveals your deepest desires. Grief marks the contours of your love. The universe communicates through feeling, not through harsh judgment. Each emotion is an energetic signal, a vibration seeking understanding and realignment. When emotion arises, ask, "What clarity are you showing me?" Then breathe until peace points north again. Practice. When emotion arises, pause. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Ask the emotion, "What truth are you revealing?" Listen without resistance. Allow the feeling to speak its wisdom. Breathe until calm returns, knowing you have received guidance from your inner compass. Chapter 16. The Golden Equilibrium. In the dance of human experience, you stand at the intersection of emotion and manifestation, where your inner state becomes the architect of external reality. Nora Davidson's journey illuminates this profound truth, a path of understanding how emotional stability transforms the very fabric of existence. For years, Nora's life resembled a tumultuous ocean. Euphoria would sweep her into grand dreams, only to crash into depths of despair moments later. Her emotions were unpredictable waves, carrying her between extreme states of hope and hopelessness. Each peak of excitement would inevitably plummet into a valley of disappointment, creating a cycle of frustration that seemed impossible to break. The turning point arrived not through dramatic revelation, but through quiet understanding. You learn that manifestation is not about intense bursts of emotion, but about cultivating a steady, unwavering inner landscape. Centeredness becomes the true magnetic force, a consistent vibration that attracts with gentle, persistent power. Russell Farmer embodied this principle of moderation. While others chased intense emotional highs and lows, he maintained a practice of daily gratitude that was neither manic nor depressed, but beautifully balanced. His emotions moved like a calm river, steady, clear, purposeful. You begin to understand that your inner state is not a weakness, but your greatest strength. Emotional moderation is not about suppressing feelings, but about witnessing them without being consumed. Each emotion becomes a messenger, not a master. When Nora learned to observe her emotional shifts without judgment, something remarkable happened. The wild oscillations began to smooth, like turbulent waters gradually finding their natural rhythm. She discovered that true power lies not in intensity, but in consistency. Russell's approach demonstrated how gratitude could be a calibration tool. Each morning he would acknowledge his blessings with a quiet, steady heart, not with explosive joy, but with a calm recognition of abundance. This consistent state of appreciation became a magnet, drawing opportunities and experiences that matched his inner equilibrium. The universe responds not to occasional bursts of emotion, but to sustained frequencies. Your emotional state is a broadcasting signal, continuously communicating with the invisible field of potential. Moderation becomes your most potent alchemy, transforming scattered energy into focused manifestation. Practice. Picture a golden scale balancing within you until feelings settle into steady glow that quietly commands outcomes. Chapter 17. The Secret of Timing. In the quiet rhythm of life's unfolding, you will discover that time is not a linear path, but a sacred dance of readiness and potential. Winnie Malone understood this truth when her restless heart began to see beyond the tyranny of calendars and arbitrary deadlines. For years, Winnie had wrestled with her dreams, believing that speed determined success. She pushed and prodded at her aspirations, believing that every moment not spent in frantic motion was a moment wasted. Her journal was filled with timelines, her walls decorated with charts tracking progress, each unfilled milestone a source of mounting anxiety. But the universe whispers its wisdom in unexpected moments. For Winnie, that whisper came during a seemingly ordinary afternoon when she noticed how a seed does not rush its germination, how a butterfly does not demand its wings emerge faster than nature intends. Glenn Turner, a colleague who had long observed Winnie's relentless pursuit, shared his own transformation. "I learned," he told her, "that forcing outcomes is like trying to make a flower bloom by pulling its petals open. The true magic happens in patient alignment." The core teaching emerged with crystalline clarity. Universal timing is not about waiting, but about preparing. Each moment of seeming delay is actually a profound period of inner cultivation. Your dreams are not delayed. They are being meticulously crafted in the unseen realms of potential. When Glenn stopped pushing against natural rhythms, opportunities began to materialize with an effortless grace. Doors he had previously banged against now opened with a gentle touch. Contracts he had desperately pursued now found their way to him through unexpected connections. For you, this means understanding that your impatience is often a veil hiding the intricate work happening beneath the surface. Every pause is not a stop, but a recalibration. Every moment that seems like a setback is actually a setup for something more aligned with your true path. The universe does not recognize human-constructed timelines. It responds to readiness, a state of inner harmony, of vibrational alignment, of being truly prepared to receive what you desire. As the chapter draws to a close, a practice awaits you. When impatience stirs within your heart, when doubts about timing begin to whisper their anxious narratives, pause, take a breath, and then whisper softly, "I trust divine timing." Let those words wash over you. Feel relief dissolve doubt, transforming uncertainty into a profound faith that knows, beyond all external evidence, that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Chapter 18. The Energy of Generosity. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Alma Preston had always known the weight of scarcity. Her hands, weathered from years of clutching tightly to every coin, told a story of fear, a narrative etched in the lines of her palms, whispering tales of never having enough. But something shifted when she understood that money, like water, was meant to flow. It was not a static resource to be hoarded, but a living energy that circulates through generosity and trust. The moment Alma began to release her grip, to give without calculation, the universe responded with a language more profound than words. Her first act of true generosity was small, helping her elderly neighbor with groceries, offering her time without expectation of return. The warmth that filled her chest was unlike anything she had experienced before. It was not the cold satisfaction of saving, but the expansive joy of sharing. Rufus Blair understood this principle intimately. A community volunteer who donated his skills freely, he witnessed prosperity not as something acquired, but as something attracted. When he tutored struggling students or repaired community spaces without charge, opportunities seemed to bloom around him like unexpected flowers. The universal truth revealed itself. Giving is not subtraction, but multiplication. Each act of sincere generosity creates invisible ripples that return to you amplified. The energy of abundance does not recognize lack. It recognizes only the intention behind your actions. Your relationship with resources transforms the moment you see them as living currents rather than static pools. Scarcity is a contracted state of being, while generosity opens channels of infinite potential. When you give, you declare to the universe that you understand the fundamental law of circulation, that what moves through you will always return to you, often in forms more magnificent than you could have imagined. Practice. Each week, offer sincere kindness or resource without expectation, sensing how instantly the field returns multiplied ease. Chapter 19. The Two Voices. You stand at the crossroads of your inner landscape, where doubt and faith dance an eternal waltz. Gertrude Watts knows this dance intimately, her mind a battlefield where conflicting voices wage silent wars, each believing they guard something precious. For years, Gertrude believed her doubts protected her from disappointment. She would meticulously plan, then dismantle those plans with razor-sharp skepticism. Her internal dialogue churned like restless waters, preventing any calm from settling. One autumn morning, something shifted. As sunlight filtered through her kitchen window, she realized something profound. Doubt and faith were not enemies, but different expressions of the same energy. Like water transforming between ice and steam, These inner voices were simply vibrations at different frequencies. Clyde Nichols discovered a similar truth. Instead of battling his fears, he began listening. Not with resistance, but with gentle curiosity. When anxiety whispered its warnings, he would lean in, not to argue, but to understand. "What are you trying to tell me?" he would ask softly. The universal field responds to tone, not just content. When Gertrude began transforming her inner narrative from resistance to appreciation, subtle changes emerged. Her work projects found unexpected momentum. Relationships that once felt strained began breathing with new ease. You are not fighting your inner voices. You are conducting them. Each thought, whether born of fear or hope, carries an energetic signature. Your mastery lies not in silencing these voices, but in guiding them toward harmony. Clyde learned that fear, when listened to with compassion, transforms into wisdom. What once seemed like a hostile intruder became a trusted advisor, whispering insights previously drowned out by judgment. The core revelation emerges. Every inner voice is love disguised, seeking recognition. Doubt is not your enemy, but a part of you longing for reassurance. Faith is not blind optimism, but a deep remembrance of your intrinsic connection to the universal flow. Practice. When inner chatter confuses, raise thoughts with one phrase of appreciation until only peace speaks. Sit quietly. Breathe. When conflicting thoughts arise, respond with a single heartfelt statement of gratitude. I am grateful. Let this phrase become a tuning fork, realigning your inner frequencies until only serene clarity remains. Chapter 20. The Gate of Imagination. In the quiet corners of her modest apartment, Ida Kane discovered the alchemy of imagination. Her hands moved with delicate precision, sketching the cottage of her dreams, not as a distant hope, but as a living, breathing reality already existing in her inner world. Each stroke of her pencil carried the vibration of ownership, of belonging, of home. The cottage emerged on her canvas with meticulous detail. Weathered stone walls kissed by climbing roses, a slate-blue door framed by lavender bushes, windows that caught morning light like crystalline memories. She didn't merely draw. She breathed life into every line, every shadow, every texture. Simultaneously, Earl Stevenson cultivated prosperity through the garden of his mind. Where others saw limitations, he saw abundance flowing as naturally as breath. His daydreams were not wishful thinking, but precise, energetic blueprints. Prosperity wasn't something to chase, but something to inhabit. When you visualize, you must do more than see. You must feel. Feel the wooden floor beneath your feet in that dream cottage. Feel the warmth of sunlight streaming through windows. Feel the completeness, the certainty that this space is already yours. Imagination is not escapism. It is creation's first language. The universe responds to emotional frequency, not just mental images. Ida's sketches carried the resonance of already achieved dreams. Earl's daydreams hummed with the quiet confidence of inevitable manifestation. They understood that visualization is energy's most potent rehearsal. Synchronicities began to gather around their visions like gentle winds. For Ida, contractors would mention stone cottages. For Earl, unexpected financial opportunities would arise. These were not coincidences, but confirmations. the material world aligning with their internal landscape. Practice. Spend moments each day picturing your dream so alive it feels factual. Then walk on as though already there. Close your eyes and breathe into the vision. Let it become more real than your current circumstances. Feel the texture, hear the sounds, sense the emotional atmosphere of your desired reality. Then open your eyes and move through your day with the quiet knowing that what you've imagined is already unfolding. Part 3. The Keeper of Light. Chapter 21. The Contract of Faith. You stand at the threshold of transformation, where faith is not a passive wish, but an active energy that reshapes reality. Irene Burns understood this profound truth after years of waiting for external rescue, realizing that true manifestation emerges from internal commitment. Her journey began in a small apartment where dreams seemed like distant whispers. She had watched opportunities slip away, believing something or someone would eventually deliver her destiny. But the universe does not respond to wishful thinking. It resonates with unwavering certainty. Irene started small. Each morning she would sit in quiet meditation, not pleading for change, but embodying the vibration of her desired life. She didn't just hope her circumstances would improve. She became the energy of improvement itself. Her faith was not about waiting, but about creating an internal landscape so vivid that external reality had no choice but to align. Simon Lowe's story mirrored her own transformation. An inventor whose breakthrough technology was repeatedly rejected, he refused to let disappointment erode his vision. Where others saw failure, he saw potential waiting to crystallize. His faith was not blind optimism, but a deliberate holding of energy, a quiet, persistent knowing that transcended current circumstances. The universal principle revealed itself through their experiences. Faith is not about proving something will happen, but about maintaining a frequency so stable that manifestation becomes inevitable. It is the contract signature of energy, a vibrational commitment that signals to the quantum field, this is real, regardless of current evidence. When you anchor yourself in this understanding, you become more than a hopeful observer. You become a conscious creator. Your certainty is not dependent on external validation, but springs from an inner wellspring of trust. Each rejection, each moment of apparent setback becomes merely a temporary shape that your unwavering energy will ultimately reshape. The power lies not in forcing outcomes, but in maintaining your energetic signature with such clarity that the universe cannot help but respond. Your faith is a living, breathing frequency that draws possibilities toward you, transforming potential into reality. Practice. Each morning renew promise to your vision, not by demanding evidence, but by breathing certainty. Sit in stillness, close your eyes, and take 3 deep breaths. With each inhale, feel your vision filling your body. With each exhale, release any doubt. Breathe into the knowing that your desired reality is already forming, invisible yet inevitable. Each morning, begin by returning inward before the world begins asking for your attention. The mind naturally searches for proof, timelines, and guarantees, yet true transformation often begins long before visible results appear. When you sit quietly and breathe with intention, you train yourself to align with possibility instead of fear. The stillness becomes a reminder that growth is not absent simply because it is unseen. As you inhale deeply, Allow your vision to feel present rather than distant. Imagine it moving through your body as certainty, not pressure. There is no need to force belief through constant effort. Calm conviction carries more power than struggle. With every exhale, loosen the grip of doubt, comparison, and urgency. What is meant to unfold does not require panic to arrive. The unseen phase of creation is often the most important. Roots grow beneath the surface long before a tree appears above the ground. In the same way, your consistent inner alignment shapes the direction of your reality quietly and steadily. Trust the process enough to continue showing up with clarity, breath, and expectation, knowing that what you nurture internally today becomes the life you eventually step into externally. Chapter 22. The Boundless Heart. In the quiet corners of her mind, where ambition and resentment often collided, Opal Reeves discovered a transformative truth that would reshape her entire professional landscape. For years she had viewed Margaret Thompson, her most formidable business competitor, as an adversary to be conquered, a rival whose success seemed to diminish her own potential. The turning point emerged not through strategic maneuvering, but through a moment of unexpected inner clarity. During a particularly challenging week, when Margaret's latest project threatened to overshadow Opal's carefully laid plans, something within her shifted. Instead of plotting counter-strategies or harboring ill will, Opal chose a radical approach: unconditional compassion. She began to view Margaret not as a threat, but as a fellow traveler on the complex journey of professional growth. This subtle, energetic reframing was not about weakness or surrender, but about recognizing the shared human experience beneath competitive surfaces. Arthur Higgins witnessed a similar revelation in his own life. Drowning in mounting financial obligations, he had long viewed debt as an oppressive force, until he learned to extend genuine affection toward his financial challenges. Rather than resisting or fearing his economic circumstances, he began to approach his debts with a curious, loving awareness. The universal principle revealed itself with elegant simplicity. Love possesses an alchemical power to transmute dense, resistant energies. Where fear contracts and restricts, love expands and dissolves boundaries. This is not merely metaphorical sentiment, but a fundamental vibrational truth that governs unseen realms of experience. For Opal, this transformation manifested quickly. The very next month, Margaret unexpectedly reached out, proposing a collaborative project that would have been unimaginable mere weeks earlier. Their combined expertise created opportunities neither could have achieved alone. The core teaching crystallized. Unconditional love neutralizes resistance frequencies. When you cease fighting against what appears opposed to you and instead recognize the underlying unity, remarkable transmutations become possible. Practice. Send warmth to any situation that feels heavy. Imagine it melting until all outcomes shine smoother. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Identify a circumstance that feels contracted or challenging. Visualize pure golden light emanating from your heart, surrounding this situation with gentle, transformative energy. Feel the heaviness softening, boundaries dissolving, potential expanding. Chapter 23. The Electric Vision. In the vast tapestry of creation, you are both the weaver and the thread. Your intentions are not mere whispers into the void, but potent seeds awaiting the precise nourishment of emotion to germinate. Betty Cross understood this sacred alchemy long before most. She was not content with writing goals on paper like lifeless inscriptions. Instead, she transformed her aspirations into living, breathing visions that danced with joy and possibility. When Betty outlined her business expansion plan, she did not merely list objectives. She closed her eyes and felt the exhilaration of success coursing through her veins. Each strategic point became a vibrant scene she could taste, smell, and inhabit with luminous clarity. Her goals were not cold calculations, but warm, pulsing realities already breathing. Leonard Price observed a similar phenomenon in his own journey. Where once he approached his professional objectives with dutiful grimness, he learned to infuse his plans with genuine excitement. His spreadsheets and projections began to shimmer with an electric enthusiasm that seemed to call opportunities toward him. The universal field does not comprehend language as humans do. It perceives frequency, emotional resonance, the subtle vibrations that hum beneath words. Clarity provides the blueprint, but emotion supplies the energetic current that transforms blueprint into manifestation. Think of your intentions like a magnificent orchestra. Clarity is the musical score, precise, structured, essential. Emotion is the musician's passion, the breath, the feeling, the soul that transforms written notes into transcendent music. Without the score, musicians wander. Without emotion, the score remains silent. When you align clear intention with genuine excitement, you create a magnetic frequency that draws synchronicities like moths to flame. The universe does not respond to tepid wishes or mechanical planning. It awakens to those who approach their dreams with the full voltage of heartfelt enthusiasm. Practice. Merge enthusiasm with clear inner picture until sparks of excitement hum around you like a living aura. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Visualize your desired outcome with photographic precision. Now, instead of observing this vision, feel it. Let joy bubble through your consciousness. Feel excitement dance in your chest, radiate through your limbs. Imagine your entire being becoming a living, breathing beacon of your intention. Clear, vibrant, unstoppable. Chapter 24. The Shadow Friend. In the quiet corners of her inner landscape, Madeline Shaw carried shadows like unwelcome guests, shame coiling around her heart, painting her potential in muted grays. Her emotions, she believed, were a burden to be hidden, controlled, pushed into dark recesses where light could not penetrate. The universal field whispers differently. Every emotion, no matter how jagged or painful, is energy-seeking transformation. Your inner landscape is not a battlefield to be conquered, but a sacred terrain waiting to be understood. Madeline's turning point arrived not through grand revelation, but through subtle acceptance. She began to listen to her shame not as an enemy, but as a messenger. What was this feeling trying to communicate? What hidden wisdom resided beneath its heavy cloak? When she first allowed her shame to speak, its voice trembled, a wounded child seeking acknowledgement. Years of suppression had compressed this energy, turning it dense and opaque. But as Madeline breathed into it, the emotion began to shift, like ice slowly melting into flowing water. Walter Crowe walked a similar path with his envy. Instead of rejecting this emotion as a character flaw, he invited it to conversation. "What are you showing me?" he would ask, listening without judgment. Envy, when heard, revealed itself not as a monster, but as a signal, pointing toward unexplored desires, unacknowledged dreams. The universe does not judge your emotions, it responds to their frequency. Shame, when integrated, becomes humility. Envy, when understood, transforms into inspiration. Every shadow emotion carries within it the seed of its own liberation. For Madeline and Walter, the breakthrough came through radical acceptance. They discovered that suppression creates resistance, while acknowledgement creates flow. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. Your emotions are not obstacles to your vision. They are the very bridge to your most authentic manifestation. Each feeling, no matter how uncomfortable, carries electromagnetic information about your inner world. When you listen without resistance, these emotions begin to realign, releasing their contracted energy back into creative potential. The secret is not to fight your inner darkness, but to illuminate it with compassionate awareness. Every emotion is ultimately seeking the same thing: to be heard, to be understood, to be integrated. Practice. Welcome any dark feeling with curiosity until its sting turns informative and gentle, releasing magnetic strength. Chapter 25. The Sacred Neutral. In the quiet landscape of inner transformation, you stand at the precipice of understanding a profound truth. Neutrality is not passivity, but the most powerful state of being. Viola Kent's journey reveals how judgment fragments energy, while acceptance allows it to flow with supreme intelligence. Viola had spent years believing that categorizing experiences as good or bad gave her control. Her mind was a constant sorting mechanism, labeling every event, every interaction with rigid mental tags. Arguments became battles, setbacks transformed into personal failures, and moments of joy were always tinged with the fear of impending disappointment. One autumn morning, something shifted. As she observed her habitual pattern of judgment, she recognized how these mental labels were actually creating resistance. Each time she branded an experience, she was essentially telling the universe how it should behave, constraining the fluid nature of energy. The universal principle emerged with crystal clarity. Neutrality is the purest frequency of allowing. When you cease pushing against what is, you create space for transformation. Your resistance dissolves, and the intelligent field of potential can rearrange itself without your mental interference. George Tate embodied this principle during a heated workplace disagreement. Instead of taking sides, defending positions, or creating inner turmoil, he chose to remain neutral. He didn't suppress his feelings, but observed them without attachment. His inner stance was one of calm acceptance. This is happening, and all is unfolding exactly as it needs to. Remarkably, without his active manipulation, the conflict began to resolve itself. Colleagues who were previously entrenched in their positions started listening to each other. The energy shifted not through confrontation, but through George's neutral, accepting presence. This is the secret. Neutrality is not indifference, but a profound trust in the intelligence of life. When you release the need to control outcomes, you align with a more expansive wisdom. Your energy becomes a clear channel through which solutions can emerge naturally. The universe does not respond to your demands. It responds to your vibration of trust. Neutrality is the highest form of trust, a state where you acknowledge that beyond your limited perception, a greater intelligence is always at work. Practice. Throughout the day, notice judgments and replace them with silent ease that says all is unfolding with wisdom. Chapter 26. The Golden Echo. In the gentle stillness of early morning, Cora Tate discovered something extraordinary about the invisible threads connecting thought and reality. Her daily meditation had begun as a simple practice of quiet breathing. But today, something shifted. As she sat with eyes closed, breath moving like a silent river, the world around her began to whisper its secret. When Cora opened her eyes and walked through the city streets, she noticed something peculiar. Strangers began repeating phrases that eerily matched her inner dialogue. A woman passing by mentioned golden opportunities, the exact words Cora had contemplated during meditation. A shopkeeper spoke about unexpected harmony, another precise echo of her morning reflections. The universe, she realized, was not just listening, it was responding with remarkable precision. Each thought carried a vibrational signature that reverberated through the unseen fabric of existence. Thoughts were not private musings, but transmissions that shaped external experience. Nearby, Henry Lyle was conducting his own experiment with inner dialogue. Instead of his usual critical self-talk, he began speaking kindly to himself. "You are capable," he would think. "Your potential is boundless." Remarkably, people began approaching him with unexpected compliments and opportunities. This was more than coincidence. It was the fundamental law of resonance, the principle that like attracts like, that inner vibration manifests outer experience. Every thought was a signal sent into the vast energy field, and the field responded with matching frequencies. Cora understood now that consciousness was not confined within the skull, but extended far beyond, interacting with the world in ways most people never noticed. Thoughts were not mere brain activity, but powerful transmissions that could reshape reality's landscape. The echo law revealed itself as a profound mechanism of creation. What you consistently think, you consistently experience. The mind was not just an observer, but an active creator, constantly communicating with the universal energy that surrounds and permeates all things. Practice. Speak inwardly as if the world listens, because it does. Fill your mind with kindness and observe the golden echo. Chapter 27. The Field Remembers. In the gentle whispers of memory, you discover a profound truth. Time is not a linear path, but a vast interconnected tapestry where every moment exists simultaneously. Adelaide Moore understands this secret intimately, her heart a living conductor of energetic resonance. One tranquil afternoon, as sunlight draped her study in golden hues, Adelaide allowed herself to drift into a memory from decades past. A summer evening with her dear friend Elizabeth, laughing beneath willow trees, sharing dreams that seemed forgotten. The nostalgia was so pure, so visceral, that it transcended mere remembrance. It became a living frequency, a call sent through the invisible threads of universal connection. That very evening, her telephone rang. Elizabeth's voice, unchanged by the decades, spoke as if no time had passed. "I was just thinking of you," she said, her words threading through the quantum landscape of shared memory. The universe listens not to the rational mind, but to the heart's authentic vibration. Your memories are not static recordings, but living energetic signatures that can reshape present reality. When you remember with genuine emotion, You activate dormant timelines, pulling potential futures into your current experience. Carlton Beck understood this principle profoundly. Sitting in his workshop, surrounded by tools and half-finished inventions, he began reflecting on childhood dreams of innovation. He wasn't merely reminiscing. He was resonating with the pure potential of those early visions. His hands remembered the excitement of creating. His mind reconnected with unbridled imagination. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities emerged. An investor interested in his pioneering designs contacted him. A research grant appeared, seemingly from nowhere. But Carlton knew these were not coincidences. They were echoes of an emotional frequency he had carefully cultivated. Gratitude, you will learn, is not just appreciation, but a powerful regenerative force. When you thank your past with genuine reverence, you breathe life into dormant possibilities. Your appreciation becomes a magnet, drawing forgotten potential into present manifestation. Adelaide and Carlton represent more than individual stories. They are living demonstrations of how memory transcends linear time, how emotion creates bridges between what was and what can be. Your remembrance is not passive. It is an active, creative force that can resurrect dreams, reconnect relationships, and realign your entire energetic landscape. Practice. Recall your happiest memory until its emotion feels current. Let that frequency rewrite your present. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Let the memory rise not as a distant image, but as a living, breathing sensation. Feel its warmth, its precise emotional texture. Allow that feeling to expand, to become so vivid that past and present merge. Sit in this frequency, knowing that in this moment you are rewriting the very fabric of your reality. Chapter 28. The Soul Signature. In the gentle landscape of possibility, you stand at the threshold of discovering your truest rhythm. Martha Knox had wandered through years of dutiful expectations, her spirit muted by societal scripts and inherited definitions of success. But on a morning when sunlight seemed to whisper directly to her soul, she understood something profound. Joy is not a destination, but a navigation system. Your purpose does not announce itself through grand proclamations or thunderous revelations. It breathes softly in those moments when your heart feels light, when excitement dances just beneath your skin. Martha realized her joy was not random, but a precise vibrational frequency, a living compass guiding her toward her most authentic expression. Chester Long embodied this truth differently. Where others saw obligation, he saw invitation. His curiosity was not a casual tourist, but a committed explorer, wandering beyond the mapped territories of conventional pathways. When he allowed himself to follow the quiet pulse of genuine interest, doors emerged where walls once stood. The universal law does not demand struggle. It requests alignment. Your truest path resonates not through force but through ease. Like a river finding its natural course, authenticity flows when you cease resisting your innate direction. Chester discovered that curiosity was not a distraction from purpose, but purpose itself in its most elegant form. Each time you honor what genuinely illuminates you, be it a fleeting interest, a sudden inspiration, a whispered longing, you send a clear signal to the energetic field. The universe does not comprehend obligation or compromise. It understands resonance. It listens to the frequency of your unfiltered excitement. Your joy is not frivolous. It is intelligence incarnate, a sophisticated navigation system far more precise than mental strategies. When you trust this internal compass, synchronicities bloom. Opportunities emerge not as accidents, but as natural consequences of your vibrational signature. Follow what makes your heartbeat brighten today, trusting that this rhythm is the universe identifying your path. Chapter 29. The Electric Covenant. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, where concrete walls seemed to absorb the city's collective anxiety, Evelyn Moore understood something profound about energy that most overlooked. You have within you the capacity to transform not just personal reality, but collective consciousness. When Evelyn gathered 30 strangers in the community center that humid evening, her intention was pure and powerful. She knew that individual consciousness, when aligned, could create ripples far beyond individual perception. As participants closed their eyes and breathed in unison, something extraordinary began to happen. The meditation started quietly, with each person focusing on inner stillness. But stillness, when shared, is never truly silent. It vibrates with a frequency that penetrates walls, dissolves tensions, and reconnects fragmented urban spirits. Evelyn guided the group to visualize peace spreading through city streets, imagining tension melting like morning fog. Participants began to feel a subtle shift, a collective heartbeat emerging from individual breaths. Some felt warmth spreading through their bodies. Others sensed a gentle humming that seemed to originate not from within, but between them. The room's energy transformed, becoming lighter, more expansive. Harold Vance witnessed this phenomenon and was inspired. He began organizing monthly gratitude gatherings, understanding that collective intention could reshape community dynamics. These gatherings weren't mere social events, but energetic recalibrations where participants would share moments of genuine appreciation. The principle was clear. Unity multiplies intention. When individuals align their emotional frequencies, they create a field exponentially more powerful than isolated thoughts. Each gathering became a beacon of transformation, attracting unexpected opportunities and harmonizing relationships. Your individual energy matters, but your collective energy can reshape entire landscapes of possibility. The covenant of unity reveals that you are never truly alone. You are always connected to a vast, intelligent field waiting to respond to your most sincere intentions. Practice. Reach mentally toward all beings with goodwill. Sense the current connecting and amplifying your shared creation. Chapter 30. The Final Veil. In the quiet depths of your inner landscape, you stand at the threshold of ultimate understanding. Flora Carroll's journey unveils the most profound secret of energy manipulation. True mastery begins within the sanctuary of your own consciousness. The world around you is not a fixed reality, but a living, breathing hologram responsive to the subtlest vibrations of your internal state. Imagine your consciousness as a luminous center, a still point from which all potential flows. When Kevin Yates discovered this principle, years of external conflict dissolved like mist before the morning sun. His transformation wasn't about controlling others, but about achieving a radical inner stillness that naturally realigned his entire experience. The universe responds to your internal frequency with absolute precision. Every thought, every subtle emotional nuance becomes an instruction manual for reality's unfolding. When you learn to maintain inner equilibrium, the external world begins to conform to your calm certainty. It's not about forcing outcomes, but about becoming so centered that creation itself bends toward your peaceful intent. This is the ultimate alchemy of consciousness, where the observer and the observed merge into a single, luminous field of potential. Your awareness is not separate from the events surrounding you. It is the very fabric from which those events are woven. Each moment becomes a canvas of infinite possibility, painted by the brush of your inner state. When conflict approaches, you need not resist. Simply become the calm at the center of the storm. Your stillness is more powerful than any external struggle. As Kevin discovered, when you stop fighting against the current of life and instead become the current itself, transformation happens effortlessly. The practice of mastery is not about grand gestures, but about moment-to-moment awareness. It is about recognizing that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your entire experience. Let your awareness rest as the silent center of all events, shaping them through calm certainty that all is one luminous field. Part 4. The Infinite Continuum. Chapter 31. The Circle of Intention. In the soft light of her studio, Ida Browning watched the intricate tapestry of her latest project unfold, each thread of completion weaving seamlessly into the next potential creation. You have been walking this path of energy's eternal dance, witnessing how one intention does not end, but transforms. The universe breathes in cycles of manifestation, not in linear paths, but in spiraling currents of continuous becoming. When you complete a goal, you are not reaching an end point, but opening a gateway to the next unfolding. Each achievement is not a full stop, but a comma in the grand sentence of your creative expression. Ida noticed how her completed community art project didn't feel like an ending, but a natural bridge to her next vision. The energy she had invested, the passion, the focus, the meticulous care, didn't dissipate but circulated, finding new channels of expression. Her hands, still vibrant with the memory of creation, already began sketching the outline of a future possibility. Clarence Mays understood this principle intimately. As he stepped back from his recently completed canvas, the painting still wet and gleaming, he felt not exhaustion, but a subtle, electric anticipation. The satisfaction of completion was not a conclusion, but a fertile ground from which new inspiration would naturally emerge. This is the secret rhythm of creation. Intention flows, transforms, recycles. Your goals are not destinations, but living, breathing entities that pulse with potential. Each time you reach what you once considered an end point, you are actually experiencing a momentary crystallization of energy, a pause in an infinite dance of becoming. The field of potential never depletes, it simply reshapes. Your focused intention is the alchemist, transmuting one form of creative energy into another. What appears as an ending is merely a transition, a metamorphosis where one dream dissolves its current shape to birth another. As you move through your creations, remember that completion is not about finality, but about flow. Each goal achieved is a note in a larger symphony, each accomplishment a breath in the continuous respiration of your creative spirit. When an achievement completes, breathe gratitude and silently ask, what desires are born of this joy? Let new inspiration emerge as a natural continuation of flow rather than ambition. Chapter 32. The Breath of Unity. In the soft morning light, you discover that breath is more than mere survival. It is communion. Delia Harper sits quietly, her awareness expanding beyond the physical boundaries of her form, sensing how each inhale and exhale weaves her into the intricate tapestry of living energy. As she breathes, the boundary between her inner world and the external landscape begins to dissolve. The trees outside her window are no longer separate entities, but living, breathing companions sharing the same rhythmic pulse. She feels the gentle sway of branches moving in synchronization with her own respiratory cycle, understanding that breath is the universal language of connection. The core teaching emerges with crystalline clarity. Separation is an illusion crafted by limited perception. In truth, every living being exchanges energy through breath, creating an invisible web of interconnectedness that transcends individual existence. Each inhale draws in the collective essence of life, while each exhale contributes back to the greater field of consciousness. Floyd Barton's experience in the forest mirrors this profound insight. During his walks among ancient trees and wild creatures, he noticed how his steady, calm breathing seemed to create an invisible harmony. Animals that would typically scatter at human presence would instead draw closer, sensing the tranquil vibration of his intentional breath. This revelation goes beyond mere observation. It is a fundamental understanding of how life communicates. When you exhale unity instead of projecting control, you align with the natural rhythms that sustain all existence. Breath becomes a bridge, not a boundary. It transforms from a mechanical process into a sacred exchange, connecting you with the intricate network of living energy that surrounds and permeates everything. Your breath carries intention, emotion, and consciousness. It is not just air moving in and out of lungs, but a dynamic transmission of your inner state. By becoming aware of this, you learn to breathe with purpose, with love, with an understanding that each breath is a gentle conversation with the universe. Breathe consciously, and imagine each exhale blending with the atmosphere of life, merging your calm with the collective rhythm that sustains everything around you. Chapter 33. The Hidden Architecture of Joy. In the vast symphony of creation, you are not merely an observer, but the conductor of an intricate energy orchestra. Your joy is not a distant melody, but the very instrument through which life's most profound transformations occur. Priscilla Dean understood this truth when her creative work became a battlefield of frustration. Hunched over her design table, she had been wrestling with concepts, forcing inspiration through sheer willpower. Her sketches felt rigid, her ideas constrained, each stroke a testament to her mounting tension. Then something shifted. Instead of battling her creative block, she decided to play. She began humming a childhood tune, her pencil dancing lighter across the paper. Her serious architectural renderings softened, becoming playful explorations. The moment she released her grip on perfection, something remarkable emerged. Designs flowed with an elegance she had never before achieved. The universal truth revealed itself. Joy is not the reward of creation, but its fundamental architecture. When you approach any endeavor with lightness, you invite energy to organize itself. Pressure contracts. Playfulness expands. Your inner state is the blueprint from which external realities are constructed. Leonard Craig discovered a similar wisdom in his engineering work. Traditionally methodical and serious, he began introducing moments of spontaneous humor into his design process. He would hum while calculating, chuckle during complex equations. Colleagues noticed a transformation. His innovations became more fluid, solutions more elegant. The field of energy responds not to your intellectual strategies, but to your emotional frequency. When joy permeates your approach, complexity dissolves, resistance melts, creativity flows like water, finding its natural course. Your inner state is a broadcasting station, continuously transmitting signals that reorganize the world around you. Seriousness is a narrow channel. Joy is a vast, open frequency capable of restructuring entire landscapes of possibility. Practice. Allow simple delight to infuse whatever you are doing. Picture joy as invisible scaffolding raising every effort higher with no exertion. Close your eyes and imagine your current project surrounded by a luminous, playful energy. Feel how lightness can lift and transform your work, not through struggle, but through gentle, joyful alignment. Chapter 34. The Eternal Return. In the soft light of her sunroom, Nellie Franklin watched the world transform, her weathered hands gently tracing patterns on the windowsill. Age had become her greatest teacher, revealing a truth far more luminous than the linear path most believed life to follow. Consciousness, she now understood, was not a journey with a destination, but an eternal dance of energy reshaping itself through endless expressions. Her eyes, clear and bright despite the years, saw beyond the physical realm. Each wrinkle was not a mark of time's passage, but a testament to the intricate layers of experience she had traversed. The body might change, but the essence, that vibrant, unchanging core of awareness, remained untouched, constantly reconfiguring, constantly flowing. Jacob Ellis, a friend who shared her understanding, would visit and speak of mornings where sunrise felt like a remembrance, not just of this lifetime, but of something far more vast, a recognition that echoed across countless incarnations. They understood that energy, once created, never truly dies. It simply rotates, transforms, breathes through different dreams and dimensions. Nellie reflected on the countless moments of her life, the joys, the sorrows, the quiet revelations. Each experience was not an endpoint, but a continuing wave of consciousness. Her mastery was not about controlling life, but about participating fully in its magnificent, ever-shifting dance. She had learned that true wisdom lies in understanding that every moment is both an ending and a beginning, a completion and a new spark of potential. The universe, she realized, does not judge or limit. It simply responds, reshapes, and continues. Her own journey was a perfect reflection of this eternal principle. Each breath, each thought, each emotion was a creative act of continuous transformation. As twilight painted her room in soft hues, Nellie felt a profound sense of connection. The boundary between her individual self and the vast cosmic consciousness seemed delicate, almost transparent. She was both the observer and the observed, the creator and the creation. When day's end approached, she prepared for her nightly ritual, a moment of gratitude and recognition of the infinite cycle of creation. Her practice was simple yet profound, a whispered acknowledgement of the cosmic dance. As you rest at day's end, feel the pulse of continuity within you and whisper thank you to the cosmos for allowing another cycle of creation to begin, where the last completed. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In this moment of crystalline understanding, you recognize that every lesson learned has been a pathway to a singular truth. Consciousness is the architect of reality, and emotion is its primary language. What once seemed complex, the art of manifesting, the dance of energy, now reveals itself as elegantly simple. Your awareness becomes the silent conductor, orchestrating life's symphony without effort. The universe does not respond to your words, but to the subtle frequencies of your inner state. Every calm breath is a command, every peaceful thought a blueprint. The mystical principles you've studied transform from intellectual concepts into lived experience. There is no longer a separation between your intention and its expression. You move through the world knowing that your inner landscape shapes external reality with precision. The miraculous becomes mundane, not because it loses wonder, but because it becomes your natural rhythm. Mastery is not about controlling outcomes, but about maintaining an unwavering inner harmony. Your calm is not passive. It is a dynamic field of potentiality. When you rest in this understanding, life arranges itself around your quiet certainty. The forbidden knowledge you once sought now breathes through you effortlessly. You are both the observer and the creator, simultaneously witnessing and generating the intricate tapestry of existence. Your heart beats in resonance with the universal current, no longer seeking to manipulate, but simply to flow.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.